this video, I'm going to be taking a quick look at DJ Shadow's 2016 track, Nobody Speak, featuring the always excellent Run the Jewels. Now, the backbone of this track is really just one sample, but the point of this video is to show some of the production techniques that Shadow used in order to make this track. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, but first, let's take a listen to Nobody Speak.
Picture this, I'm a bag of dicks, put me to your lips, I am sick, I will punch a baby bear in his shit, give me lip, I'ma send you to the yard, get a stick, make a switch, I can end the conversation real quick. I am crack, I ain't lying, kick a lion in this crack, I'm the shit, I will fall off in your crib, take a shit, hit your mama on the booty, kick your dog, fuck your bitch, that boy dressed up like he sat on and took pictures with your kids. We the nobody speak, nobody get told. Nobody speak, nobody get told. Hey. Nobody speak. Nobody speak. Only facts, I will shoot up, baby.
Now, I personally love this track from the first second that I heard it. It really took me in with those intro guitars and the sound of that bass. And I love the drum beat too. Somehow it was very DJ Shadow-like. The placement of the bass drum, he just seems to be a magnet for these type of beats that are interesting and unorthodox. I also really like the kind of Radiohead Kid A quality of the horns that come in halfway through this track. Now, let's have a listen to where the backbone of Nobody Speak came from. It is from Caterina Valente's 1968 track, Old Man River, from the album Sweet Beat.
Old Man River, that old man river, he must know something, but don't say nothing. He just keeps on rolling, he keeps on rolling along. You and me, we sweat and strain, our body aching and raked with pain. Tote that barge, lift that bale, you get a little drunk and you land in jail. So weary.
Now, that really is a great track in its own right too. And I love how it goes from the electric guitar to the classical guitar to the bass guitar on the descending scales. And that's kind of the hook of this track. That's the hook that DJ Shadow took. It's so clever to me. I love little concepts like that in songs. Somebody had that idea to do that, right? And it just sounds kind of neat. It's something different. You've never heard that before. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to have a quick look at some of the production techniques that Shadow would have used in order to make Nobody Speak using that sample. And so what we're going to start with is the BPM of Nobody Speak is 160, but the intro is the original, so it doesn't have a BPM. And I really like that Shadow chose to do that. I'll show you what I mean. So you can hear how it doesn't conform to the click track. And so the intro is what it is. It's sampled directly from the beginning of Old Man River. And so I'll show you what I have here for the intro. There's no pitch shifting. There's none of that. There's a little bit of EQing. So we have that intro, and then the drums are taken from a short little loop here right at the beginning of Old Man River. But there's a couple things we have to do to that to make it work. First of all, it's mostly in the left channel, and so we're just going to make it in the left channel here. And now secondly, we need to roll off most of the bass, and what I've done is from around 500 hertz and below, I've rolled off. You can hear it without. So you can still hear that bass, you can hear the bass drum, but we're going to roll that off, so it sounds like this. Because we want that hi-hat, that's what DJ Shadow has, and we want a little bit of that snare. And the other thing I've done here too is I've thrown a side chain on it, because on beat 1 and 2 in Nobody Speak, there is no hi-hat.
This, I'm a bag of dicks, put me to your lips, I am sick, I will punch a baby bear in his shit, give me lip.
And that's very intentional for DJ Shadow to do that. He did that on purpose. So what I'm doing is I'm decreasing the volume of beat 1 and 2 through this sidechain. And so you can't really hear the hi-hat in the mix on 1 and 2. And so that's probably a technique that he used there. He might have just gone all out and deleted the beat 1 and 2 from the track and resampled the bass drum there, but I am pretty sure that he would have done a sidechain of some sort. Now let's talk about the bass drum in Nobody Speak, because we have to resample the bass drum because we've taken out the bass drum from the original drums. And so
I'm a bag of dicks, put me to your lips. I am sick.
It's a very aggressive bass drum. But one thing I'm hearing in here is I hear a low A to kind of supplement the bass. So I have a sub bass drum that is playing a low A. And then I have a click, which you can definitely hear in his. It has no low in it whatsoever. The low is EQ'd out. It's just the click. And then I have kind of a supplementary sub bass to add a little bit more flavor to the low end. And you add all of those together and you put it with the sampled drums from Old Man River, and you have this. And then to finish it off, we need to resample the snare as well. And so I have two different snares here. There's one just for the attack. And there's one that's more of an acoustic kind of hip-hop snare sound. And you put these two sounds together. And you have the crack of that attack of the one snare, and you kind of have the body of the other. And now if you combine all of these together with the resampled bass drum, the resampled snare, and the sampled drums, you get this. And so that is more or less what DJ Shadow would have had to do in order to make the drums in Nobody Speak. Now let's talk about the bass sample here. If you take the right channel of the drums, you have the bass that I thought originally that DJ Shadow had taken. But when I sampled that bass over the drums, it didn't quite sound right. It didn't quite sound like Nobody Speak. And so I went back and I realized that Shadow actually resampled the bass from the intro. And so that's what I did. I took this bass and I cut it up to be right on time. And because the drums are so isolated from the bass, with the EQ and the fact that it's in the left channel, if you resample this bass, there's no conflict at all with the bass that was in the original drum sample. And so if you put all of that together with the drums and the bass, you get this. And you can hear there's a bass flourish here that he takes from the intro. I love that he threw that in there. It adds so much to the track. And of course, taking up the bass and throwing the guitar in there for the last bar is excellent as well. And so let's do a quick comparison now to Nobody Speak and what I have here.
I'm a bag of dicks, put me to your lips. I am sick. I will punch a baby bear in his shit. Real quick, I am this. I'm a bag of punch a baby bear in his shit. Give me lip. I'm gonna send you to the yard.
And so you kind of get the general idea of the resampling of the bass drum and the snare and how he treated the drum sample to kind of mix it all together. Now I'd love to know what you guys think of this track. What would be your favorite DJ Shadow song from kind of the modern era, say from 2016 to now? To me, it's a little bit of a mixed bag, but that's really the case for almost all artists. And I just really appreciate that DJ Shadow is still making some really good tunes. I just love that he's still putting in the work to find interesting samples and make some fun music. Now, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please feel free to give it a like if you like this kind of content. And of course, feel free to subscribe if you really like this kind of content. And on that note, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.